When it comes to my channel, I often talk about preference because preference really matters when it comes to the experience of mobile photography. And in this video, I really want to talk about the different preferences that really matter and which makes it your kind of phone when it comes to the photography. To begin with, I really want to analyze what kind of photography we're talking about. When it comes to, for instance, Xiaomi, my kind of instrument that would fit with it is a saxophone, specifically being played in a small bar. Something where there's a lot of people around. It's a little bit of that warmer vibe, that warmth that is there, a lot of soul to it. I think that is what Xiaomi is. When it comes to, for instance, Oppo and Hasselblad, I think there we're talking probably about a piano or maybe a cello. Something around that region would fit that kind of style. I feel like Hasselblad has that feeling, not as much as the saxophone does in this case, but I do think it still has a lot of feeling to the shot. When it comes to Vivo, it's more like a drum kit. I feel like there, it is a really important instrument. I love myself some Phil Collins and it makes his songs amazing, but I don't think it has the best soul in the shot itself. And when it comes to Samsung, but the triangle, that apparently takes a lot of time to manage to get the best out of. So yeah, that kind of fits Samsung. And Apple, yeah, they both fit under that triangle kind of narrative when it comes to comparing the instruments. Now, why do I compare it to instruments? I think this is the best way to describe what I'm looking at when it comes to the photography experience of these and the results that you're getting from them. And I think the instrument, for most people, makes it a really clear idea on what kind of shots you will get from the phone itself. Hopefully, that analysis works. Either way, let's dive into the video and talk about how each of these phones perform and which one I think fits best for you. And we're not talking about battery life specifically, but there will be some mention of it. Either way, let's dive into the video. Photography is an expensive hobby. Buying a Hasselblad camera or a Leica camera simply isn't an option for most people, including me, not to mention the lens that you will need to buy with it. But with collaboration between phone brands and their established brands like Leica, Zeiss and Hasselblad, that experience hasn't only gotten more manageable, but also more pocketable. But making the right choice really matters here, and that is not just down to hardware, but also to your own preference that I keep referring to. And in terms of what fits you best, let's start with, for instance, Xiaomi. Xiaomi, a brand I have used a lot and actually a brand I started off with when it comes to smartphone reviews all the way back with the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4X. With photography getting truly amazing and a more camera-like experience ever since the Xiaomi 13 Pro. Even though the Xiaomi 12S Ultra probably counts here as well, but I haven't used that personally. What Xiaomi's strength is and where I think it will perfectly fit the likes of you is that it's not trying to be perfect. It's not making your shot too saturated or trying to create a crazy HDR shot with shadows lifted, where it becomes non-existent. It manages to really capture the essence of the scene really well, even if in reality the scene might look a little bit different. It manages to tell the feeling of the scene that you are at. This is the true strength of Xiaomi and their camera performance with Leica. And I also really want to credit the lack of the push of AI in the sense of capturing the moments. And while you can use it with zoom shots, it's simple to turn it off completely, respecting real photography. Naturally though, there are some weaknesses as well in return. If you love raw photography, the only one that is able to capture in that 50 megapixel resolution is the main sensor. The rest is 12.5 megapixels. And use 500 ISO or above, it will default to 12.5 megapixels. But Vivo does that as well. It also can suffer from a lot of inconsistency when it comes to its photography. And I would say more so than the Xiaomi 15 Ultra at its current state, that I still prefer apart from zoom shots. And also lastly, for the camera side, it can struggle with warmer tones, where it's often leaning towards the cooler side of the shot itself. And then we also have to discuss battery life, sadly. Shooting a subject needs battery life, and sadly with Xiaomi it falls short. Yes, I've heard people with the Chinese version that get amazing battery life, and some with the global version as well. But mine simply is poor. It won't reach the end of the day or anything remotely close to it if you love photography. And at the end, you cannot capture a stunning shot if your phone has run out of battery life. Vivo. Man, there is so much to cover honestly when it comes to Vivo. When it comes to the most reliable camera on any phone, it will be Vivo. You can trust it to capture the shot consistently and well. And with the new styles, you can play around in shots that are not trying to be perfect, and that really helps with adding some much needed character in the shot. Naturally though, the collaboration is with Vivo and Zeiss isn't known for the amount of character in the shot, but more the clarity of the shot. And I think there Vivo does really well. Not to mention that the collaboration between the two also goes down all the way to the pieces inside the camera lenses and how they are shaped. It isn't just a label as some people would try to say. And then on top of it, the Vivo X200 Pro and X200 Ultra have excellent battery life, the best battery life I have had on any phone, and that makes it great for shooting because you can trust it to last to the end of the day or your shooting session. Now there are some weaknesses as well. Shoot in that natural size and you will see that lack of soul that I spoke about. It will do really well, but in comparison to the likes of Xiaomi and Oppo, it lacks some of that depth. Granted though, I do think that they really stepped up the game with the Ultra, with allowing more shadows to be there. It really helps with keeping some of the depth in the shot itself. And lastly, just like the 15 Ultra, though less so, it can get a bit toasty, because every single phone that has the Snapdragon 8 Elite really suffers from it. But it varies on different brands on how much it is. Xiaomi is definitely more than Vivo, but it is still noticeable when it comes to the Vivo X200 Ultra. The X200 Pro, however, suffers way less from that. Oppo, where do I even begin? I think my first flagship experience from them in the modern age was the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. A phone that looked absolutely stunning, especially in black. But in turn, it also had a hue effect over its images that held it a bit back, and the same goes for the X8 Pro. Now we got the X8 Ultra, and here, because of the cooler tones, we get more of that color contrast that it really needed. Less of that filter look, and of course I'm using master mode. And it can create some amazing shots with a lot of character in it. And also a side note, they do have some of my favorite border styles on any phone. It just adds a little personality to it. Now, what I will however say in terms of weakness when it comes to the Oppo is that from time to time you need to step out of that master mode for instance macro photography, and that experience is definitely very different. With the biggest thing for me being noticeable is the integration of AI. No matter the mode, I feel like I should be able to completely turn it off. With macro photography or zoom shots, it's simply too much for me every now and then. And I feel like it removes some of that genuine feeling of photography that for myself I crave so much. The Oppo Find X8 Ultra, however, is a really well balanced phone when it comes to the experience of someone who loves photography. Sony is one of the most heart-wrenching ones for me to talk about. It gives me the basics that I really like, the microSD support and of course the headphone jack. That alone makes me love Sony and the experience. And naturally, we have that beautiful shutter button. It also gives you software tools to really elevate the experience with shooting video and photography. Though I will say, I'm not the biggest fan of the latest version that I used in the Sony Xperia Mark VI when it comes to stills. That being said, it has great autofocus, great lock-in tech, and in general you can create some stunning shots with it. I would say if they bring back that camera software experience from the gen before the 6, you will get some of the best software experience from manual photography. But it's also held back a lot. And that is where the story gets sad for me. Sony makes a lot of camera hardware, they sell it to others, yet they make the choice like the periscope that makes a lot of sense on paper with having an actual zoom that allows you to shoot in different optical ranges. Not digital, but optical. That means it is truly a moving system that is rumored for Vivo's next gen. I love the idea behind it, just the execution is what suffers here. It is held back by a really small sensor. And I think if we really want that top Sony Xperia experience, they really need to fix that and give that hardware that makes it stand out. Because as of now, it's simply not good enough with a lot of noise when using the periscope. In WoW, sure you can remove some of it, but it just doesn't have the details to back it up. Now Apple and Samsung, I'm somewhat putting them together here, and here preference really comes to play. Once you are used to what you like, for instance with Xiaomi, Vivo and Oppo, and what they provide when it comes to the camera, they are well behind them when it comes to the camera, be it the sensor size or simply the results that you're getting. You can edit them to make them look better, but when it comes to brands like Xiaomi, Vivo and Oppo, they're better to begin with. In reality, it would be wrong to say that they are bad when it comes to phones. They simply aren't. While Apple without a doubt isn't for me, Samsung does have its charm. It has a great display, I like their software, and the longevity of that support is really important for a device like that. But also for me, that is where the charm ends. Samsung is able to capture some fine pictures, but nothing special. And the same counts for Apple. I would say you buy these kinds of devices more for the support than anything else. Or when it comes to Apple, you buy it to get a wife, because apparently that really matters. And I think that's what I've been doing wrong then. Now of course, there are other brands to discuss as well, like Motorola. It's really reliable, but it doesn't really stand out anywhere. Being able to deliver some nice shots, but again, not something that really stands out. Though the price isn't for that either. I think for something like Motorola, you pay quite a bit less and still get a pretty solid experience. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of their clean software experience. We can discuss iQOO as well, that I really love, but naturally that experience is pretty close to what Vivo produces as well. And I haven't had the chance to test out their latest, but the iQOO 12 for a lower price of the likes like the Nothing Phone 3 that is simply priced way too high will deliver some amazing shots with a very capable device for its photography. Especially if you want that kind of photography experience that you will get on Vivo. Devices like the iQOO 12 are really good in terms of value for what you get. Naturally, with that we also have Nubia, and my first experience was of course the Z60 Ultra. It made me love that 35mm equivalent on a smartphone. The results that you will get from the camera can suffer from over-sharpening, but in general, if you get that scene right, it is able to capture some amazing shots. And on the likes of the Z60 Ultra and Z60 Ultra leading version, you will get that really good 18mm equivalent ultra wide that can capture shots like these that look stunning edited because of the natural detail it has. Sadly, they decided to have the lesser 30mm equivalent with a smaller sensor after these two. But Nubia is one of those I can easily recommend if you simply want to pay less but still have a pretty solid camera experience, while keeping in mind that it loves to sharpen up shots quite a bit. And of course that 35mm equivalent is also on the lower priced Z60S Pro. And I will put OnePlus in this same category as well. OnePlus is really good for the price that you are paying for it, but it's not going to beat the likes of the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. That's simply better than what you can get on OnePlus. That also being said, when it comes to OnePlus, I will say AI interference is definitely too much for my liking. I think it can ruin shots, especially if you use the normal auto mode. But if you look to price to performance, OnePlus is really solid. So at the end, which phone fits you best? Which style fits your kind of preference? Because again, what really matters is that we discuss the part that is preference. And I think the fanboyism often makes people blind about what fits them best and they lose opportunities because of it. And I feel like with my channel, I really want to elevate the kind of thought where I'm thinking you should look at what the phone performs like and what you get out of it. And what your preference probably fits best. Devices like Samsung won't be the top dog when it comes to the camera, but you cannot ignore, for instance, the usability of it, the longevity of it. I think there Samsung does well, Apple as well, even though I don't care for it. But when it comes to devices where camera really matters, yeah, those just don't stack up against them. But if you like that kind of photography, if you don't want the experience of more of a proper camera, a lot of soul in the shot, or something like that, then something like Samsung might fit you much better. Either way, I do hope that you enjoyed this video with a different style and a different flavor, and my way of telling which device is the best for you, not necessarily for everyone. Now, before we leave, I really want to thank my members. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for the support that you guys have been giving me on this channel. And of course, if you want to become a member, you can by clicking join below somewhere. It really helps out a channel like mine, but also commenting, interacting on the video itself really pushes a video in the YouTube algorithm. And of course, watching it full length and so on. Either way, before we leave, of course, don't forget to subscribe, like and everything. I talk to you guys in the next